I know that for certain that something special happened.
It was one visit to the well for some prayer, and it's just made our lives so much better.
Before that experience, I didn't think that prayer could have that much impact.
The Well Christian Healing Centre was first conceived in 2002.
God very unexpectedly gave me the vision for the well whilst I was sitting in a friend's garden, and I believe I heard him say that he's about to open the ancient wells of healing here in Leamington Spa. I was completely shocked, a little bit excited, but really daunted. I mean, how do you start up a healing centre from scratch? And so on a December night in 2002, I shared the story so far, and it was just an amazing response. We practiced as we were and had teaching throughout the autumn of 2003, and then we opened in February 2004.
I went to a local clinic for a really routine operation. As the anaesthetic wore off, the pain started to intensify, and they actually gave up trying to examine me. The decision was taken for me to come home. I went into the well and went into one of the booths to be prayed for. The pain dropped by about 50%. They'd suggested that maybe I'd want to go for soaking prayer, and I duly agreed. What this involved was prayer for an hour. Quite a few people sat down and some people laid down. The prayer team were walking around praying quietly. I noticed that the pain, 50% of the pain that was left, started marching across my body. And it got to the point where it's the middle of my thigh, and then I felt it travel down my leg and then shoot out my big toe. And it was just an amazing, amazing feeling. I'm truly grateful that God is working through the well and healing not only myself, but other people as well.
The public prayer ministry takes place at the pump rooms 3 times a week, with 2 sessions on a Tuesday and 1 on a Wednesday. Guests can contact the office and book an appointment, or can literally step off the pavement into the well. The prayer ministry is carried out primarily by a team of volunteers who undergo a training course to become part of the well prayer team, with ongoing training taking place. Volunteers are supported by their church leaders and are from churches of all denominations, reflecting the Well's status as an independent charity, with its events open to people of all faiths and none.
Ever since I was a baby, I'd always failed the hearing tests. I was struggling a lot because I couldn't hear very well. My mum told me that people thought that I was being unfriendly, but they just didn't know that I couldn't communicate because I couldn't hear them. I had grommets when I was younger, but they didn't really make much difference. So my mum wanted me to go to the well for prayer. After I got prayed for, I could hear better. I went back to the hospital and they gave me another hearing test, and that was the first one I'd ever passed. After I'd had the prayer and people realised that I wasn't unfriendly, it was just because I couldn't hear them.
As soon as somebody comes into the well, they will be greeted by one of our reception team, and they will be given a very short form and a question, what would you like prayer for? Then there will be a little bit of a wait. They can get a hot drink if they like, or just sit and listen to the very quiet music. And then very soon, a member of the prayer team who's been allocated to pray for them that day will come to collect them, and they'll be taken into a very private space which we call a prayer booth, and there'll be another team member to join them. And those two will listen to the guest's story to find out what they really want prayer for about today. The whole conversation is confidential, and then they will start to pray for the guest. At the end of a prayer appointment, our team will help the guest to know what the next step is. It may be to come back for more prayer. It might be going to visit us on a soaking prayer session. It may be getting involved in a local church. It might be visiting one of the local counselling centres.
I've been ill for most of my life, really. with stress and anxiety. I went to the well a few times. When I got home, and I felt something stirring in my stomach, and I could feel this stirring gradually coming through my body, and I felt the need to pray, which I did. And when the stirring came out of my body, I went all cold. Afterwards, I knew immediately that something special had happened, because the tension in my face that I had for so long had just gone. The day before I gave my testimony at church, I put a Celine Dion CD on to listen to. And the first record on there was I'm Alive. And this nearly made me cry, because that's exactly now how I feel. I feel alive.
In addition to the public ministry, the Well also runs a range of other activities in line with the original vision.
One of the exciting things we've put into our programme are quiet days. Sometimes we have the opportunity of going out to visit local churches because they've asked us to put on a travelling well healing service.
When Elizabeth, my daughter, was about 5 weeks old, she got very poorly. She wasn't eating and she started finding it difficult to breathe. My husband, Kev, took her straight to the hospital and they said that she had bronchiolitis. She was in an oxygen tent. She was in hospital. It was almost 2 weeks she was gone. Bringing her home from the hospital is really where kind of more of a nightmare started, because she wouldn't sleep almost every hour, up and awake. And throughout the day, if she wasn't being held, she would cry. Going out to the shops was awful. It was difficult to eat a meal. I was constantly tired. My mum said, well, why don't you visit the well and get some prayer for Elizabeth? So I took her to the well. She screamed all the way down. We must have had prayer for a good half an hour. And towards the end of that, she started to drift off to sleep. That night was the first night she'd slept through completely. From that moment on, she started taking a bottle. I could take her out to the shops. I had a new child. Now, she's just a lovely child. She knows all about God and Jesus, and she knows what he did.
There are numerous ways that people can get involved with the well and to enable us to fulfil our vision. One is perhaps joining the prayer team, becoming a prayer watchman, supporting our work in prayer, but also actually supporting our work through financial giving. Sometimes I just step back in amazement at what God has done since he spoke to me all those years ago in the garden. It really is amazing to see our guests' lives changed by his healing power. It really is quite awesome.